Obviously, the first thing you need when you're learning how to play is a guitar. A lot of people have an old guitar that's been in the closet for a while. But if you want to dust it off and start learning, there's a few things you need to know first. The most important, make sure your guitar is in playable condition. Really, don't leave it to chance, because you'll make it 1,000 times harder on yourself trying to learn on an instrument that's not up to speed. It makes it so much harder to play. And then you'll get discouraged and you want to put that guitar right back in the closet again. So please, take it to your local music store and let them check it out. See if it's okay to learn on. If not, they can do the adjustments to make sure everything works great. Especially something called the action. The action on the guitar is simply how high the strings are from the fretboard. If the action is too high, it's really hard to press down on the strings and make a good sound. And it makes your fingers hurt too. That's one of the main reasons that people quit. So make sure you tell the nice guitar guy at the store to adjust the action as low as possible to learn on. But not too low. That's not good either. If the action is too low, you'll hear all kinds of weird sounds like buzzing and clipping of the notes when you're playing. Needless to say, it's not a good idea to try adjusting all this stuff yourself until you know how to do it. Let the guitar guy at the music store do it. Another suggestion? Buy a set of extra light gauge strings and have the guitar guy put them on for you and tune them properly. It's much easier on your fingers. I'll show you how to tune your guitar in just a bit, but for now, let the guitar guy do it. There are lots of other little things that need to be adjusted too, like the truss rod, a metal bar that goes lengthways through the neck, the string length to make sure the guitar plays in tune, and lots of other little things that'll make playing a lot easier once you get started. But don't stress too much about it. Let the guitar guy do it. So if you're buying your first guitar, you have a few choices. At the music store, there are lots of beginning guitars you can buy inexpensively. Here's an ad from a national chain that advertises 50,000 guitars for less than $100. However, these should be checked out by your friendly guitar guy just to be sure your new guitar is adjusted correctly for easy learning. It's very rare when you can just buy a guitar off the rack and it's good to go without some kind of adjustment. You should try out a lot of them at the store and choose one that feels comfortable to hold. Make sure the size feels good to you. Try wrapping your hand around the neck like this and compare which ones feel best to you. You wouldn't buy a new suit and wear it with the pants too long and the jacket too tight, right? So if you have any questions, make sure you ask the sales guy. Your first guitar should be like choosing your best friend. You guys will be working together for a while. There are various types of guitars to consider, and here's a question I get asked all the time. Are all guitars played the same way? In other words, if you learn a chord on this acoustic steel string, is that chord played the same on an electric or a classical or on every other type of guitar? The short answer is yes. Aside from small stylistic differences, which you don't have to worry about at all right now, every guitar, acoustic, electric, classical, whatever, is played exactly the same. Let's do a basic run-through of the different types of guitars. Usually, the most popular choice among beginning students is the standard acoustic steel string, like I have here. It's probably the most common type of guitar, and it's versatile. You can take it anywhere, and there's almost nothing that doesn't sound great when played on a steel string. Then there's the electric guitar. Now, if you start off with one of these, you'll need some extra stuff, like an amplifier and a guitar cord to connect with it in order to get much sound out of it. Now, amplifiers can be pretty expensive at this stage of the game, and if you feel like playing on the beach or somewhere else where there's no power, well, you're pretty much out of luck. For now, it's probably better to start with an acoustic guitar. That being said, if you already have an electric guitar and an amp, great. It's just as easy to learn on one of these, no problem. And if you feel like eventually you'd like to turn your amp up to 12 and wail on a blues or play some old-time rock and roll, this is the sound you're looking for. This is called a classical guitar. Some folks call it a classical or a flamenco or nylon string or a gut string guitar. It too is an acoustic guitar. but it sounds a little mellower and uses a different kind of string. The strings are made of a softer material, so they're usually easier on the fingers for people who are just learning like yourself. However, most of the time their necks are just a bit wider, so it requires just a little more finger stretching to make the chords. These kind of guitars are commonly heard in songs with a Latin or classical flavor. As a rule, they don't lend themselves to rock and pop music as much as the other guitars. Still, they do have a beautiful sound and they're easy on the fingers, so they're great to learn on. Especially if you appreciate the smooth sounds of a bossa nova or other Latin and classical melodies. Here's a guitar that's in between an electric and an acoustic. It's called a semi-hollow body electric and can be played with or without an amplifier. The strings on this guitar are lighter gauge than on a straight acoustic, so it's not as loud or as rich sounding as an acoustic guitar, at least not without a little help from an amplifier. However, you might find that the strings are easier to press down. That can be an advantage when you're just starting to play. Many acoustic guitars have the option of using an amplifier as well. Usually there's an input jack somewhere underneath or on the side, like right here, that lets you plug in a cord and use an amplifier if you want. It's an added feature, and it doesn't affect how you play or learn in any way. So there's a few examples of the basic kinds of guitars to look for when you go shopping. And you'll have plenty other shapes and sizes to choose from also. Way too many to cover here, but I know you'll have fun searching for the perfect fit for you. And there's always someone to help you answer whatever questions you might have. Even better, if you happen to know someone who knows a little about guitars, ask them to come along with you. Oh, and as I mentioned before, make sure and buy a few guitar picks so you don't lose your last one. They're not very expensive, somewhere around $0.25 a piece. So I suggest you buy several, because if you're like me, you lose them all over the house, and you find them in some pretty strange places too.